bahagian dalam pelbagai projek penyelidikan yang berkaitan dengan ekologi, pengurusan dan pemeliharaan bakau serta telah menerbitkan sejumlah besar penerbitan. Dua di antaranya baru-baru ini muncul dalam Sains pada tahun 2018 dan 2019. Beliau adalah anggota Suruhanjaya Kumpulan Pakar Mangrove IUCN SSC dan penyelaras perikatan dan rangkaian penyelidikan Mangrove Malaysia, My Mangrove. Pada tahun 2017, beliau memulakan penubuhan Malaysian Mangrove Research Alliance and Network atau My Mangrove untuk mempromosikan penyelidikan berbagai disiplin dan kolaboratif di kalangan ahli akademik dan saintis. Tanpa membuang masa lagi, majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan Dr. Aldrie Amir untuk menyampaikan ceramah beliau. Majlis dengan sukacitanya mempersilakan.
Terima kasih banyak kepada saudari MC. Terima kasih atas introduction tu tadilah ya. Dan Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya nak ucapkan berbanyak terima kasih jutaan terima kasih kepada Dr. Fazli Amri dan pasukannya yang menganjurkan majlis pada hari ini. Saya difahamkan di UiTM kuliahnya semua dalam bahasa Inggeris. Jadi apa yang saya buat adalah saya prepare lecture ni dalam bahasa Inggeris. Tapi boleh kita boleh berinteraksi sekejap lagi dalam question answer punya session dalam bahasa Malaysia pun tak apa. Tapi along the way mungkin penerangan tu saya akan bagi inter atau bilingual lah ya, atau bahasa Inggeris atau bahasa Melayunya. Okay. Jadi kita masih menerima participants masuk. Jadi saya mulakan Dr. Fazli okey ke?
Okey nanti.
Okey. So it's gonna share content lah ya. Ini first time saya pakai Webex by the way. Okay, boleh nampak Fazli?
Okey dah tes.
Clear? Okay, suara saya pun clear ya?
Clear.
Alright. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Again, and very good afternoon to everyone. Siapa punya anak tu? Okay, so I would like to thank again Dr. Fazli and all his team. Basically, I know there are people behind this event for having all of us today, for putting all of this together. And I welcome all staffs and students of your ITM, both in Perlis and in Shah and maybe throughout the country. And also I would like to welcome our students, particularly the co-relawan from and our co-organizers. I think Dr. Fazli organization with UMT and also NAHRIM. I was told, and NAHRIM has a new name, by the way. I just heard this news yesterday. So they are not National Hydraulic Research Institute of Malaysia now. And to everyone who's participating today. I was given the task by Dr. Fazli to give a lecture about mangroves. But then looking at the response, considering the overwhelming response that we have today and the wide range of participants, I'm going to change the mode of the webinar today. What I will do is I will be telling you a story about love and sacrifice. So this is a great story of sacrifice and unconditional love from a group of very intelligent and very hardworking, very loving and affectionate trees and habitat known as mangrove. Okay, so this may sound a little bit abstract, but do take note of some key underlying messages, the basic knowledge and the science to be applied, particularly in the context of coastal resource management and coastal development and conservation. Okay. I cannot move the slide, Dr. Fazli. Is it working?
Doctor, just click this one.
Okay, all right. Okay, it works. So before we start, let's enjoy some nice views and photos of mangroves. So I'm making an assumption here that perhaps maybe half or quarter of the crowd have not been to the mangroves. And just to give you a general idea, mangrove is extremely important, that they are now recognized globally as our main weapon to combat climate change. And for many lucky countries like Malaysia, with the presence of mangroves, their profile has increased, and they are one of the key attractions for nature and nature-based tourism. So evidently, prior to the current pandemic that we're facing now, nature tourism contributed significantly to the economic income to many countries, including Malaysia. And mangroves are an evergreen forest. But at the same time, they are also a wetland. So now that makes them a forested wetland. Imagine huge trees, timber, growing on a wet and watery soil. So that actually doesn't occur a lot throughout the world, and we are extremely lucky to be blessed with this unique habitat. So now, not just their physical characteristics are unique, but the processes, the invisible processes undergone by mangroves and all wetlands, for that matter, are unique and extremely important. So, and most of the time, they are known as the global green lungs or kidneys of the earth, because their contributions are not only localized, not only for people surrounding this area, for example, in this picture, but each and every patch of mangroves are important at global scale. Mangroves are perhaps the most unique and at the same time versatile and extremely important ecosystems. They are located in between land and sea of the tropical and subtropical zone. And I always market them as a trademark habitat or the signature habitat of the tropics. So many of you, perhaps some of you, are working in the tourism industry, so you may use that as a selling point. And located on the coast, mangrove forest is a highly dynamic ecosystem, and they thrive in an extreme environment. And change is constant, and they are ever changing. So what you see here in this picture may not be similar 20 years ago, and it may not be as it is today, 20 to 30 years from now. Like other trees and other forests, they undergo and they carry out similar natural processes. So they breathe oxygen for their respiration. They absorb carbon dioxide to make food during the photosynthesis process, and they require a lot of water. Like other trees, they require a lot of water, nutrient, and sunlight to grow strong and healthy. But then, instead of being there on land, like your durian trees or your rambutan trees, mangroves decided a long time ago to take the challenge to do what other trees cannot do or don't do. They dominate the coast and our estuaries, and they evolve accordingly. So, being on the coast, they are heavily influenced by tides, salinity, and other coastal and environmental forcing. So, if you look at this picture, you can visualize that this area may be eroded if erosion rate is high, and they may propagate seawards if sedimentation happens. and they may retreat landward if sea level rises. Yeah? So I'm pretty sure many of you are aware of that. And also they may transform into becoming a terrestrial forest one day if the sediment elevates or sea level decreases. Yeah?
Sorry, Doctor. I
Yes.
think the slide is not functions.
Okay. So which picture are you looking now?
Okay. I think this one.
Seri buat ke?
Sri buat. Sri buat. Okay.
Okay, I will press. Okay, so by looking at this picture still, yeah, you can imagine like how they are already, yeah, although this is a highly stressful environment, yeah, being right in the middle of the ocean, and mangroves manage to grow and spread throughout this area to connect all the small islands. So if you see like a little bit of highlands there, these are all actually separate islands, and mangroves manage to connect them. The slide is not working. Okay. Mangroves are important nurseries, and habitat for fish and marine life, and living on the edge, juxtaposed in between the land and sea. They help filter pollutants from land-based runoff and help protect nearby coastal reefs, coral reefs, and sea grasses. And mangrove also shares some of the much important nutrient with these adjacent ecosystems. And at the same time, they protect land and the coastlines from erosion and extreme oceanic events like tsunami, typhoons, tropical storms, etc. So connectivity of these ecosystems and how they interact and how they influence each other, all these processes involved must be properly understood to ensure solid management of our coastal resources. So you need to take note, especially all of you students of the coastal resource management programs, and every one of us who are involved in nature resource management particularly. You cannot look at them, each of these habitats or ecosystem in silos. And we cannot tackle issues by just targeting one particular habitat because they are all in essence connected. And these are the major topics that I'm exploring now, and I welcome all of you to be part of it because they are extremely complex, and no one person can champion these alone. And for that, I would like to attract all of you, attract your attention to this paper just published yesterday that points out that knowledge, understanding and perceptions on mangroves are extremely important, as this triggers wise or bad decisions on resource management and conservation. And something appeared on my screen, sorry. Okay. And huge amount of biodiversity depends on mangroves, and large population of humans across the globe rely on mangroves too. So basically the planet needs mangroves and relies on mangroves for their sustainability. Speaking of knowledge, this would be the only wordy slide today, but these keywords are very important for you to take home. So let's go through this. And mangroves are plants that normally grow above mean sea level.
Sorry, Dr. Tri,
yes.
Slide tak ada. Can you share again?
Slide tak ada? Okay. I don't know, it's disconnected something. Okay. Quite unstable,
Okay, Doctor.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So mangroves are plants that normally grow above mean sea level. Note that highlighted words, mean sea level in the intertidal zone, meaning there are process of high tide and low tides happening in this area, of marine coastal environment and estuarine margins. Okay, and a mangrove can be referred to, okay, so you can refer to mangrove as a tree, one mangrove tree, or you can, or collectively you can also call them a mangrove forest, mangrove habitat or mangrove system. So this is interchangeable. And more importantly, you need to understand that mangrove is beyond tree. They're not only consisted of plants. They are that they are also adapted or accommodated by various benthic and faunal organisms. So it can be temporary or permanent. So you've often heard about migratory birds, how they need or how they require wetlands or particularly mangroves during the migratory seasons. And as I mentioned to you earlier, mangroves are a type of wetland. So wetland plants, they are all hydrophiles. They can tolerate a lot amount of water. But particularly for mangroves, they are also halophile, meaning they tolerate salt water, salinity. And they grow in an anoxic environment and anaerobic soil, meaning soft and muddy sediment as well. To some extent, sometimes they have zero oxygen in the soil. And intertidal zone, meaning they grow within the area, in between highest astronomical tide and the mean sea level. And they prefer sheltered shorelines, so you cannot find them on beaches or rocky beach, open sea. They cannot survive in open sea. And although they look very macho, all the trees look very strong and macho, they are very fragile. So this is one thing I will highlight later. So like I mentioned to you, they have preference. They grow in a specific area in between mean sea level and the highest astronomical tide, because they cannot be inundated for a long time. So they allow seagrass and corals to dominate the lower watermark area. So this is a typical view. You can see basically fairly typical for Malaysia. Areas dominated by groups. So the primary trait, if you look at this picture, the primary trait would be roots. Why do you think they prefer, or they behave this way? By forming this kind of roots, this is to stabilize themselves. If they act like other terrestrial trees, they cannot. The trees or the soil, the base of the tree may not be able to hold on to their weight, to the mass, to the body mass. So this is one way to adapt to the soft, muddy sediment. A little bit noisy at the back. Someone, I think you need to turn off the microphone. I can hear echo. Okay. And then at the same time, these roots are used to breathe. Remember I told you in the sediment, not like your terrestrial trees, because they have fertile soil with enough oxygen in it. But in mangrove, the mud, the sediment, sometimes have zero oxygen. So what they do is they form these breathing roots above the sediment, above the soil, to absorb as much oxygen from the air and from the water, because the tides come in maybe twice a day, and that is the only chance for them to absorb water from the oxygen from the water. And then they have this. They have these special cells to filter salt. So while doing that, while breathing in water, they accidentally have to absorb the salt in the water as well. But they have mechanism to filter this salt out. And then, but they don't really require that much salt for their physiology. development. And what they do is they excrete this salt through their leaves. Okay, so this explains how intelligent they are. Due to the limited time of water and all these environment pressures, they have to work hard. So every single day, by working hard, so they naturally become very productive and very resilient as well. Okay. Okay. So for those of you, I think can you see the video, Dr. Fazli?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. So this is how they excrete the unneeded, the not needed salt in their body. So for all of you who loves to cook, if you find yourself short of salt, you can go to your nearby mangroves. But do that at your own risk. Okay, so that's how just now I explained on how intelligent they are and how they manage to like form or behave that way by forming area rules. And what another unique and mysterious characteristics of mangrove is that is the reproductive mechanism. Okay, so unlike your durian tree, again, I would like to use durian tree as a example here. Durian produce fruits, right? And the fruit will get ripen on the trees, and when it matures, it will drop down. Okay, so we will go and chase for the durian, and then to break it open, eat, and then we throw the seed to let a new tree grow, right? But we cannot do that in mangroves, right? Mangroves cannot do that. They can't afford to do that. So what they do, they cannot do that because this is an intertidal area, meaning like in Malaysia we have semi-diurnal condition where tide comes in twice a day. So imagine if they behave and produce fruit like durian, so there will be very low chance for this fruit to grow, to become new trees, right? So what mangroves do is the parent tree allow for the babies to grow, to become a young tree while still attached to the parent tree. So this is what I mean as a very loving and affectionate relationship within the mangrove. So because the parents know if they release the babies, like how durian tree release their babies, their fruits, mangrove baby cannot grow because they will be dispersed by water and may not be able to be germinated and take root. So what they do is to allow these babies to grow, and when it's a perfect time for them to be independent, the parents will finally release them to take root somewhere near the vicinity, right? So that to me is really cool. Okay, so far so good. So this is a basic ecology, a basic knowledge that you need to know about mangroves. All right, but then we all know ecologically, as an ecosystem, a functioning ecosystem, mangrove provide various benefits for human and as well as for nature. Right, they are very important as natural coastal buffer from erosion, tsunami, wind, and they are also the nutrient sink and source. They are also habitat from huge amount of biodiversity. They are the important breeding and spawning ground for fish. There's some coral fishes that you find or you catch in the open sea will have some portion of their life within the mangroves on land. So they need some protection from the mangroves for their growth. And it is an important source. It used to be known as a supermarket for food and other resources for human as well as important for ecosystem connectivity. So this is a video made by Delta Res to demonstrate how mangroves are able to minimize the current and velocity of waves and tidal waves, as well as tsunami that happens before. Maybe some of you were born after the tsunami in 2004, but look out, read a little bit about the event that happened in 2004 that devastated many countries around Indian Ocean. Okay, so this picture is a typical view from the coast, towards inland, in many tropical countries, including Malaysia. So you can see behind here, is an hilly area, or mountainous area, or highlands that form the backbone of land, of an island, a state, or a country. And these highlands are vital sources or the starting points for major rivers and channels. So rivers naturally meander, carving their ways from higher altitude, flowing to a distance, carrying with it water. The important thing is water, minerals, nutrients, and silts. So all of these are being carried by rivers to fertilize and irrigate adjacent habitats and ecosystems before being flushed into the ocean. So these rivers, while they flow downstream, they themselves need some buffer to allow for natural processes to take place. So along the way, rivers carve their way and produce or create oxbow lake, and this is important also to maintain river banks, to slow down the velocity also. So if you have straightened rivers, these processes cannot happen. And also the flow of rivers actually maintain maintain and sustain the hydrological condition or interactions, exchange with the underground hydrology with other ecosystems. Okay, so going downstream, there is also some beautiful relationship in between different ecosystems and habitats. In this case, like mangroves, seagrass, and coral reefs. So mangroves, being on the edge, they protect seagrass and coral reefs from sediments and pollution. And so they filter out sediment and pollution. And then they share important nutrients also for the benefits of seagrass and coral reefs, all the organisms within it. And in response, seagrass and coral reefs protect mangroves by further dissipating waves and other oceanic hazards. Okay? And as I've mentioned to you earlier, mangrove is not just about plants or trees. The whole biodiversity, from microbial organisms to the largest mammal, they play important roles to keep the habitat sustainable. In fact, to keep the whole world sustainable. So I'm going to tell you a secret, but then you are allowed to tell the secret to your friends and families. So mangrove absorb carbon dioxide, right? And they use this to build up food and energy for themselves, to grow healthy and stronger. But eventually, all this carbon are transferred to all parts of their body, including their leaves. And leaves eventually will die, they turn yellow and brown and will be shaded by the trees. So the first organisms that will catch these leaves will be the crabs and the detritus, all these microorganisms in the sediment of mangroves. So crabs will chase these leaves before the high tide comes and feed on them. And some of them become very greedy also. They will grab the leaves and take it into their burrows, into their holes, crab holes, right? And they patch these leaves on the walls of these burrows or the holes. So the carbon in the shaded leaves are being stored in the sediment for the longest of time. So all the carbons are not only, or the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, not only absorbed by the plants, but the carbon stored in the plants are being reserved or sequestered into the sediment with the help of these organisms, crabs, and then it's further decayed by microbial organisms within the sediment. So this is how mangroves are very efficient and very effective in in mitigating or in absorbing carbon in this atmosphere. And this is why we explain to the global communities the importance of protecting mangroves. It's not about the plant, but the whole ecosystem. So this is another understanding that you all need to know. So in our effort to protect or to restore mangrove, for example, don't focus only on the plants, but the whole ecosystem as a whole. And evidently, many hundreds of research have been carried out and they have quantified and proven these. So mangrove together with seagrass and salt marshes were identified as the blue carbon ecosystems in which they are very, very, very efficient in sequestering carbon. But this is not to tell you to cut all the terrestrial forests. No, right? This is to protect all of these ecosystems together, all this natural green environment together. But this is to demonstrate on how significant the contribution of mangroves, seagrass, and salt marsh in sequestering carbon in our combat against climate change. Okay, that's a very important science that we need to understand. And for the longest of time, humans have depended on mangroves for our sustenance and livelihoods. And all these benefits provided by mangroves as producer, as regulator, as a host, to myriad number of species and cultural values were enjoyed by all of us from as long as we can remember. And we built houses and villages behind mangrove for the protection, the shelter they provide. And we get our proteins from catching fish and seafood in nearby mangroves. And we use the timber to make charcoal and fuel for locomotives, for many more reasons. And so I explain this. And then the increased dependency. So this is the challenge that we have now. The increased dependency on mangroves and coastal resources, in my opinion, it is the primary reason for the development and birth of many civilizations around the world. So these, I pinpoint some examples, but if you look closely, many of these huge civilizations, many of major cities of the tropics, major cities of the along the tropical belt, they are located in the confluence or the mouth of major river systems. So you know what's there, right? What you can find supposedly on tropical estuaries and river mouths. And the trend is very similar to the current modern state of Malaysia. So if you look closely at our map, reflect on our Malaysian condition, you can identify where you're from. But the trend is similar. All major cities in Malaysia are actually located on the coastlines, or at least close proximity to the coast. Because of the conduciveness, because of the safety they provide, benefits, and all the resources. But the needs, the demands for resources are increasing more and more every day. As we grow as a nation, all of these challenge the survival and the integrity of our mangroves and coastal resources. So what's worrying is human impacts on mangroves are most of the time massive and permanent. And some of our actions, some of our activities cause chain reactions, in which the impacts may be visible later, or indirectly. So in the case of coastal erosion, for example, some actions happen elsewhere, but the impacts will be seen, can be seen on coastal area in other parts of the state sometime, later on. So I think Dr. Fazli can explain this to some of your students based on your past research, Pahang, Selangor, right? So therefore, again and again, I repeatedly advise our friends, especially resource managers, we must always reflect and analyze on the intensity, the magnitude, the scale of our actions, and foresee the impacts on these unique forested wetlands. Okay, all of us here in Malaysia, as well as our friends within Southeast Asia or the ASEAN region, we should be proud because all of our countries combined, we collectively have the highest number, highest abundance and extent of mangroves throughout the equator. We should be very proud of that. But then, I don't know, unfortunately or quite remarkably, we, ASEAN also, Southeast Asia also, is the global hotspot for mangrove loss. So this is the challenge or the contradicting issue that we have. We have the highest, but then we also are the hotspot for global mangrove loss. So is this a coincidence? Or, well, maybe not. But the fact is, many of the nations in Southeast Asia, I think maybe all, are striving to develop. We are all striving to push for our social and economic demands, or socio-economic pillars, at the expense of our environment, particularly our coastal ecosystems. And from the study of land use in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, we can see all for economic development. We exploit our coastal land for agriculture, culture, urban development. So you can see mix of agriculture and aquaculture here. Imagine these mangroves used to like benefit the whole coastal community, but now only selected community of people would benefit from that development. And yes, the aquaculture ponds also cannot be effective forever, right? So most of the time, maybe after several years, they will be left abandoned before being redeveloped, or other kind of development encroach in this area. Instead of rehabilitating or restoring, they allow for this area to be abandoned, or maybe to allow for other kind of development. And most of the time we mine, we dredge our sand to supply for development on land. So human activities basically along the rivers, on our estuaries and deltas. Why this note keep coming out? Annotate the shared content. So basically our activities, human activities along the rivers cause tremendous change and impacts on the whole riverine ecosystem. So adding effluents and pollutants to the river will cause an increase in the load and putting more pressures for them to mediate the disturbance. So yeah, these are some of the physical development that we have. But I just want to remind you that mangroves, as we understand earlier, this is an intertidal zone, right? So so physical development like this will pollute our rivers and put pressures on them. So the effluents running from these kind of development and the runoffs will ultimately put pressure on downstream ecosystems to mediate. It's not just there, but the impact will be felt throughout the hydrology, the whole system. So by building bunds, for example, and physical structures or seawalls, we inhibit the natural processes that I mentioned earlier from taking place. So for mangroves to play that buffering role, remember I told you about their role as coastal protector. They themselves need some buffer to allow the dynamic process to happen. So by building or stopping them, by building bunds and seawalls, we're stopping them from undergoing, we're stopping them from undergoing this natural process, this dynamic process. Because if you look closely at this image, and if you imagine, I mean you all learn physics before, right? So you have water coming in, wave coming in, right? So by having mangrove as a buffer, the water will flow easily, right, upstream. I mean on the coast. But if you have walls, the waves will hit these walls, and they will be reflected. By being reflected, waves being reflected, they will cause or trigger more erosion. They not only carry or erode the mud and sand from the sediment, they will eventually take the whole forest out. So by having buffer or physical development, so you stop waves and the dynamic process to happen. So if you have mangrove as buffer, waves can grow. This is especially worse in the situation that we are facing now. One of the impacts of global climate change is increase in sea level. So with the increase of sea level, you will have increased amount of water, and mangroves cannot grow in stagnant water, right? And so they have to move landward. So this is how I explained it earlier. And another significant impact that we cause from our unsustainable management of resources would be forest fragmentation. Even worse, mangrove fragmentation. This is a major driver for ecosystem degradation, as it reduces the capacity of habitats to provide all of these services that I've mentioned. So if you have time, please visit Dr. Dale Brian Brown's research, just published in Nature Scientific Reports. And fragmentation or compartmentalized management of resources in the coast, as well as unsustainable or unwise jurisdiction of resources, expose us to many issues. Especially lately, we come across marine debris as an issue. Because many mangrove forests, downstream ecosystem are still perceived as the most convenient dumping sites. And we need to understand, like I told you earlier also, this area is an intertidal area within an estuary. The hydrology within this area is extremely important. And the impact of landfills, the leachate, the overflow garbage, they will spoil the whole ecosystem. And imagine this is an intertidal area, meaning tides come in and out, So logically, when tide comes in, they will carry this rubbish, this garbage with them. So if we don't manage our waste, we don't manage or select a better place to dump all our waste, it will spoil not just areas within this river, it may affect our friends in other countries. So our waste, our garbage may end up in the shores of other countries as far as other continent or other region. So this is how bad it can be. It travels because plastic is so light. Can be carried out by water from upstream, from the river, so wherever you are in Malaysia, you are actually located within a river basin, right? So wherever you throw your rubbish or garbage, it will end up somewhere downstream, or some other countries. So these rubbish, this garbage can have very significant impact and consequences on mangroves, because they cover the ground. So you remember I told you about the seedlings, the baby, mangroves baby, they are released by their parents. So they need sediment. They need sediment to take root and grow. But if this is the condition that we have in our natural forests, our mangrove forests, how can that process take place, right? So they deter mangroves from baby mangrove especially to establish and to grow, and at the same time, they suffocate and they choke marine faunal organisms, for example, and they also, this huge amount of rubbish can also affect tidal processes, tidal flushing, causing stress to the environment, because not enough nutrient or maybe too much pollutant, chemical, so they cannot grow healthily. And also, you can see, I mean, these trees are perhaps maybe 10, 15 years of age, and that plastic bottle were there for as long as they are there. And this plastic, this bottle could be there for another few hundreds or maybe thousands of years. We never know, right? So this is a challenge that we have in our current environment today. So slowly by slowly, we all of us start realizing this. I would love for all of you to tell this story to all your friends, because although you're not a marine scientist or not a coastal scientist, this issue makes sense, right? Because it affects all of us. Sea level rise, coastal flooding, will affect all of us, and we need to take measures. We need to rectify our past mistakes, basically. And it will be more challenging from now on with the impact from climate change, including sea level rise, warming. So all of us need to do something. We need to start carry out to mitigate, but we have to do it correctly. So this is a worry I have also, but this is very important for me to deliver to all of you. So speaking for many countries, and governments also within our region, especially the Indian Ocean region, which was affected by the tsunami, in Southeast Asia, or the whole tropical region actually, that is continuously affected by tropical storms. So you see the logic, mangrove growing on the tropical belts, and tropical belt also is home to the infamous tropical storms, and we get this very frequently, and we are undergoing a monsoon now in Malaysia, so you can tell how worse it is on the coastlines, right? But then, although we've spent so much money, on restoration, but most of our response is actually based on a panic response. So we simply plant everywhere, on the beach, on mud flats, on seagrass. This is the mistake that we have before, and we cannot repeat this, because restoring or rehabilitating mangrove, we perceive that as just planting, whereas it should be based on the principles of ecosystem management. Remember, I told you it's not just about plants, but we need to restore. We need to create or recreate an ecosystem which is healthy for all of these organisms, right? Not just plants, but also the animals, microorganisms. Yeah? So it makes sense if this is not a success. Many of the projects are not successful because it is not done correctly. The local communities and scientific communities are sometimes not involved, or not needed in this kind of activities, and this must be stopped. Yeah? So to get huge or healthy amount or a healthy area of mangrove, yeah, we don't need to in fact plan for restoration if we have all of these intact. Yeah? So the best way to understand the successful way or the best way to do mangrove restoration is to emulate the recovery process that mangroves undergo, yeah, after an impact from natural disturbance. So this is another aspect of ecological studies that needs to be understood by everyone, yeah, especially managers. So various types of impacts are posed by nature disturbances, and the way mangroves and natural environment react vary. Yeah? They respond to disturbances, I mean, in various ways. So I will showcase to you on what happens to mangrove when the canopy is naturally open due to a natural disturbance. Okay. So on one fine day, okay, so it took a few years to create this animation. So I hope you will enjoy this. So on normal days, I'm pretty sure some of you who have been to the mangrove would see a very calm situation, a calm environment. Yeah, you can see there. I mean, you can see some seedlings or some baby mangroves growing underneath. But then they cannot grow further, right? Because the parent trees, yeah, the canopy is closed, so they cannot fight for light compared to their parents. But then one day a disturbance came in the form, for example, here in the form of lightning strike. So lightning strike strike a tree, but they kill a group of trees, creating circular gap. So these trees, the one affected or impacted by that small disturbance from lightning strikes, they die gracefully, standing but gracefully. So they rot slowly. So at the same time, allowing the babies to grow. Because the opportunity suddenly opens for them to fight for light and nutrient. So they can, hundreds or thousands of them can fight, but then eventually the fetus will survive to replace the parent tree. And ultimately replace the dead parent trees. So imagine that process happening in patches, in different patches of the whole forest. So eventually, at all time, imagine at all time there are gaps being created in the whole forest. So eventually, the whole forest will be rejuvenated naturally through this natural disturbance, through this series of gap creation. So this is a healthy process, that actually indicates the health of a mangrove forest. So that's why, I mean, this is actually the way, a natural way for mangrove to maintain their forever young condition. Yeah, because you know the condition in mangrove, the sediment is soft, and it's muddy. So if trees grow like super huge, or super old, the mass or the weight they cannot cope with the soft and muddy sediment. So if they grow too big, they will create a domino effect, which lead to a condition we ecologists refer to ecosystem collapse, which is perhaps similar to the nasty anthropogenic disturbances that we cause or we pose to the mangroves and coastal environment. Okay, so there are ways, there are models, guidelines to be followed. For instance, this ecological mangrove restoration guideline. This is introduced by our friends at Mangrove Action Project. So basically, this guideline actually advises us to understand the ecosystem, the ecological condition of the site, the type of disturbance that is affecting that particular area, the threats and the risks, as well as the potential disturbance or changes that they may face. We need also to consider the hydrology of the area, and then sediment condition, the biochemical condition. To plan for restoration activities, also we need to be prepared with the supply of seedlings. We need to ensure that it's a nursery nearby or natural forest, natural mangrove forest nearby, to promote the growth of this restored area. Succession process, because it's not simply planting one kind of species or one type of plants, because it's a mix of so many other plants. So by creating conducive or suitable condition, mangroves will grow naturally. You can, in fact, sometimes in restoration activity, you don't even need to plant. So this is the another important information or knowledge that I would like to deliver to all of you. So it's not just about planting. It's not just gathering people to plant, but it's actually to create a conducive environment for them to establish by themselves naturally, and maybe some assistance by humans. So, and then another important thing that needs to be taken from these guidelines, or this guide, the Ecological Mangrove Restoration Guide, is the involvement of local community. Because local community is very important for this kind of efforts, because they live there for many generations already. So this needs to be considered. Get them involved, community, local community involved, scientific community involved. So this is extremely important because they can contribute to better restoration, or the success of our activity. So I would like to give you one example here in Kuala Selangor, this area I visited earlier. This is an abandoned pond. And as usual, abandoned pond, they simply left it abandoned. They don't do anything to this area. But somehow the owner of these ponds they broke the walls of these ponds, and just that. So they don't replant, they don't plant mangroves here, and they didn't do any hard engineering here. So they just broke this, and naturally the tides bring in or supply seedlings from neighboring areas, and they establish themselves in the ponds. Imagine. So the wave, the tides actually brings in water, sediment, and seedlings, and they simply grow. And you see, there's no need of planting, but it happens naturally. Okay, so one, maybe this area is a little bit lucky, or maybe because it's a little bit higher and lower, and just nice for the mangroves to grow. And this is another a bizarre situation, I would say. So they perhaps they broke the wall as well, because to allow for tidal flushing, the tides coming in and out. But then the local community came together to plant mangroves here. So they didn't do hard engineering or like breaking the bunds, but they simply plant. And you can see if the area is conducive, they allow the tides to come in and out, mangrove will flourish naturally anyway. But what interesting in this picture is the flow, is the facade of this area from the sky. You can still see the shape of the ponds, although the mangroves are already taking over or dominating this area. So hard engineering is useful also. I mean, maybe needed at some points. Hard engineering is needed, especially for places like Tanjung Piai Mangrove, because the erosion rate was massive, super bad actually. And but then they built this wave breaker. So several years after these wave breakers were built, sedimentation, as the sediment starts to stabilize on this area. And they didn't plant mangroves here, but these are grown naturally. So if you create a conducive area, just nice for mangroves to grow within the intertidal area, enough sediments, stable sediment, enough nutrient, water and sunlight, so they will grow naturally. Okay, so I would like to attract your attention to Matang Mangrove as well. Matang Mangrove is known to be the best managed mangrove for 100 plus years already. So but then they produce, they undergo sustainable forest management to produce timber for charcoal. Although we lose biodiversity here, but we manage to maintain the area. This is important point also. So they are protected as permanent forest reserve. So they produce charcoal from this forest, and they let the clear cut area to be regenerated. They allow this area to grow, and at some point they will assist with planting. But then although they only plant Rhizophora mucronata and Rhizophora apiculata, we only have these two dominant species in majority of the area, but the area is protected. So we maintain the size of the mangrove. In fact, by preserving or protecting them as a forest reserve, they naturally create land. Remember I told you earlier that mangrove can propagate naturally seaward, because they trap sediment, and that area becomes stabilized and more areas are being built. So basically mangrove can help a tropical country like Malaysia, to expand the land area that way. So but then if we have high erosion rate or strong impact from erosion and increase of sea level, we will lose land. So basically that's a sponge effect that they have. So my idea is, why not we push for total conservation for all mangroves in Malaysia, and find ways and mechanism to fully ride on this protection. For example, through carbon trading, or sustainable tourism as an alternative to income generation. Because proportionately, between mangroves and our land mass, we are at the advantage comparing with other mangrove holding nations. So I would like to suggest for Dr. Fazli maybe and his team, maybe we can collaborate by studying the area, mangrove areas and our total land mass, and see how we can contribute to formulation of maybe carbon trading mechanism, carbon credit mechanism for Malaysia, and also to further promote nature tourism. Apparently nature tourism or tourism as a whole is our second biggest contributing sector for Malaysia. So basically, this is an important slide also. You may want to take note of this, because all in all, we need to be clear with the objectives and the missions of our development. We must include extra measures to the protection, conservation and restoration of our mangroves and coastal ecosystems. Because ideally, we want to grow and develop to become a modern state, right? A developed state. But we would also expect our environment to be as healthy as possible. We would like our mangroves, or we would like to protect or conserve our mangroves, to create a healthy functioning ecosystems that provides all these basic necessities to regulate all these natural processes, to host and supports multitude of ecosystem services. And our efforts in restoring mangrove, for example, or protecting, conserving mangrove should be strengthened with other conservation and governance measures, especially, particularly like payments for ecosystem services that I proposed just now, maybe carbon financing, and we can also establish more protected area for wise use and sustainable use. And always remember, from now on, I'm pretty sure many of you hopefully got a little bit excited to contribute to mangrove conservation or mangrove restoration. But always bear in mind that mangrove restoration is not a numbers game. We don't want to beat each other by planting the most mangrove. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be a one-off event, or maybe just to get to take selfie with mangrove and be on social media or the news with the highest amount of mangrove planted. No, it shouldn't be that way. It should be an honest commitment from all of us. Restoring or planting mangrove or protecting mangroves requires us to strategize, to plan, to monitor and to work collaboratively. And of course, throughout these years, throughout the few past years, more and more money, energy, technology are being put into this effort. And ultimately, yes, political will, a strong commitment from the government as the landowner. We all know that state, mangrove is a state matter, land is a state matter. So state governments, commitment from them would govern the success of mangrove conservation, as well as to promote sustainable development for each state and the country as a whole. And many organizations, individuals, governments are providing all the needed support. So with all this knowledge, we should be able to secure or to ensure successful restoration and protection of coastal resources. One thing I would like to highlight here, because I think, because we're communicating with the scientific committee, do take note that good science contributes significantly to wise use and wise management of mangroves. So, to our friends at the authorities, especially to the government, please listen to the good scientists, and to all of you, get involved. Involve yourself to contribute to good ethical science and governance of our nature resources, because that's very important. This ensures the creation of good policies and good regulations and good understandings. So basically, we do not have much time to waste on making bad and wrong decisions, especially pertaining to the sustainability of our future. It is the responsibility of the current generation, that means us, to ensure, to collectively uphold the triple bottom lines of sustainability. That is to ensure the sustainability of our environment, our economy, and our social well-being. And you all may think that the study of mangroves only concern maybe ecologists or marine scientists or maybe foresters, but that's wrong. It actually involves and requires expertise from across the disciplines. Maybe all of them. I just pinpoint and highlight some, but it actually involves all of us. As humans on this planet, basically. Okay, so considering the complexity of the ecosystem and the network, we must work together and approach mangroves in a multi, inter, and transdisciplinary manner. I simply put that picture of mine looking back just to actually look out for all of you, all of you actually so we can work together and contribute to the better protection and better management of mangroves. Because this is our continuous role as researchers. We have to advise and consult the authorities and managers. And for that, actually, that is the ultimate or ultimate reason why My Mangrove was formed. Like our MC highlighted earlier, My Mangrove was formed and established to create a conducive platform for all of us to communicate, to work together. So you can find more about My Mangrove on our Facebook group, and you can join. Indicate who you are and how you would like to contribute or how mangroves are related to you, and we can work together. We can discuss scientific matters, conservation matters. All of these are done to contribute significantly to the protection of our mangroves and ecosystems for the benefits of our current and future generations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Fazli. I think I stopped there.
Kira teh, sekejap. MC.
Majlis diteruskan lagi kepada sesi soal jawab. Sekiranya ada soalan yang ingin diajukan kepada speaker, dipersilakan untuk membuka mikrofon anda atau mengajukan soalan di ruang komen.
Selamat petang, Prof.
Selamat petang. Siapa tu?
Daripada UMS. Soalan saya, membuat projek untuk dikurang perhutanan semula Sungai Petagas dan Hutatan dekat Kota Kinabalu. Dan di hujung sungai tersebut adalah habitat mangrove atau bakau. Jadi kumpulan kami adalah kumpulan ekologi, tugaskan untuk menghutankan semula. Jadi persoalan saya, apakah kadar what is the proportion of number of species or type of species to be planted? For example, we want to plant white mangrove, bakau or black bakau, or perapat, any species, but what proportion should we plant? How many perapat should be? How many other species should be? That is my question, Prof. Thank you very much. I will listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Itu siapa tadi, Mr. Ang saya rasa dia dari Sabah. Thank you for the question. Sungai Putatan dengan Sungai Petagas di Sabah, betul. Jadi apa yang kita perlu tahu bila kita nak restore ataupun nak ambil inisiatif untuk reforestation, itulah tadi yang bila saya sebut tentang penglibatan komuniti atau masyarakat setempat. Tapi kadang-kadang mungkin dia terlalu outskirt, tak ada orang pernah duduk di situ, tapi masyarakat sekitar biasanya akan faham keadaan di suatu kawasan hutan bakau tu. Jadi mereka biasa dengan spesies apa yang biasa tumbuh di situ. Jadi kadang-kadang ikut elevation, kalau biasanya inilah perlunya kita tahu input daripada komuniti saintifik dan juga komuniti tempatan. Kita mesti tahu kedudukan elevation kawasan tu, berapa tinggi dia daripada gigi air, ataupun keadaan di mana mean sea level untuk kawasan tu. Jadi kita boleh faham biasanya kalau kita ambil kira jenis, kita mesti ambil kira jenis sedimen, kita kena ambil kedudukan dia jauh mana daripada daripada air, ya, ataupun paras paras laut, ya, di antara mean sea level ataupun lowest tide dan highest tide. Jadi ini semua boleh dijadikan panduan untuk spesies apa yang sesuai. Jadi biasanya kawasan yang didominasi oleh rhizophora ataupun Bulgaria, biasanya itulah spesies yang biasanya yang akan tumbuh secara semula jadi, ya. Tapi kadang-kala kita kena ambil kira juga succession proses, ya. Macam di kawasan yang terlalu tinggi, di kawasan yang darat, bila kanopinya terbuka, ya, bila satu kawasan terbuka, biasanya pokok piai mungkin akan tumbuh dulu, ya, secara semula jadi. So pokok piai akan tumbuh secara semula jadi disebabkan mungkin kawasannya agak kering, ya, di belakang, di kawasan yang hampir darat. Jadi slowly, ya, secara perlahan spesies yang sepatutnya dominan di kawasan tu akan ambil alih kemudiannya, ya. Bila dia tinggi daripada piai tu akan matilah, dia akan tak boleh tumbuh. So itu satu perkara yang kita kena ambil kira juga, succession process, dan juga spesies-spesies yang boleh bertolak ansur lah, boleh tolerate cahaya yang banyak, ataupun juga ada spesies yang tak boleh tumbuh langsung di bawah canopy, ya, di bawah shaded area. Jadi ini perkara-perkara yang perlu, paling penting diambil kira. Tapi khusus untuk soalan tadi, saya cadangkan untuk melihat kepada kawasan persekitaran terdekat di lembangan ataupun di estuari Sungai Putatan dan Sungai Petagas. Ya. Saya sendiri pula tak pernah sampai lagi ke Sungai Putatan dan Sungai Petagas. Tapi apa yang saya boleh cadangkan adalah melihat persekitaran kawasan itu. Kalau betul-betul kawasan itu bekas kawasan mangrove yang yang dah degrade, ya, dah degradasi. Jadi lihat study apakah spesies yang tumbuh sebelum kejadian ataupun disturbance tu, dan juga kenal pasti basic condition of that particular area lah. Maksudnya hidrologinya, sedimennya, ya, elevationnya, dan sesuaikan dengan kesesuaian spesies mengikut faktor-faktor tu tadi, ya. Dan yang paling penting juga kalau boleh libatkan juga komuniti setempat dan juga komuniti saintifik, ya, yang berdekatan, sebab mereka akan boleh beri cadangan yang lebih tepat lah, khusus untuk kawasan tersebut.
Terima kasih banyak.
Okey, terima kasih Cik Julius, ya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Doktor, dari Nur Ain, pada pandangan doktor, apakah cara terbaik yang boleh dilakukan oleh masyarakat dalam usaha pemeliharaan dan pengurusan lestari hutan bakau?
Ini tak silap saya, terima kasih banyak kepada soalan tu. Jadi tak silap saya, ini soalan yang saya berikan kepada pelajar-pelajar UKM. Jadi kena take note of my points dalam lecture saya. Pandai ada trik saya kita pula. Jadi itulah tadi, throughout my lecture, that was the answer for that particular question. Okay, seterusnya.
Dari Amir Muiz, Dr. Aldrie, thank you for the great presentation. My question are, why carbon market or carbon trading still cannot be successfully done yet? What are the data that need to make this successfully for mangrove?
Thank you very much for the question. Carbon trading, carbon market is a tricky business. Yeah, it's a tricky mechanism because it needs buy-ins, yeah, from many stakeholders. So this is the challenge. It's not just about data, but involvement of all stakeholders. So this is the challenge that we have. So what we are doing today, thank you again to Dr. Fazli and his team. we are trying to disseminate this importance of this of these ecosystems and habitats, or basically to actually highlight just one key compartment of the environment. It actually involves all angles, all aspects of the environment and nature resources to make carbon trading and carbon market successful. Because it's not just about protecting an area and involving government agency and maybe local stakeholders. It actually involves private companies, insurance companies, and of course it needs to be supported by solid legal and governance management. So this is why it is slow. It has been done, actually in many parts of the world, it has been done in a very small scale, or I should say very patchy, right? So very specific habitat or ecosystem for very specific reason by very limited stakeholders. So this is what we need to push from now on. Contribution, of course, the government is taking the lead now, but it needs buy-ins from local communities of that particular area, for example, or throughout the country, if we can do it at national scale, and then buy-ins from private companies. This is where we can influence corporate sectors and private companies to give or pay extra attention on their corporate social responsibility. We know that this is a voluntary basis, but in this sense, maybe we can somehow come up with a semi regulatory form or something like that. It can be done. So, but it needs some time to get all of these stakeholders together to agree on the term. But we can, the government can actually dictate. But of course, if we don't get an honest or full commitment by all parties, it will not be successful also, right? So this is a challenge that we are having. So we will do our part, the scientific community, all of us, we contribute slowly to disseminate this motion or this information. Slowly by slowly, hopefully the private sectors will have buy-in more and more from now on, and understanding from the government sectors as well, to make it a solid approach. So it is now voluntary, but hopefully soon it will be fully accepted by all communities. And yes, you're right. Also, you did mention about data. So basically, we need to know what we have currently and what needs to be protected or expected. And we need also to study our past. We need to know how much we've lost, what kind of future impact that we will be facing. So this pandemic actually is a shocker, right, to all of us, to many of us. All of us are affected. The same goes to impacts, all the impacts induced by human-induced climate change. We will expect even bigger problems in the future, right? So pandemic is one of the examples of the impact of climate change. We will face people without countries that lose lands. We have already seen islands sunken in the sea, right? Nearby countries within Southeast Asia are facing major flooding, and some of them are in the water already. So this really needs buy-ins and commitments from all of us, actually. Okay, I hope that answers that question.
Doctor, from Zulkifli, could you explain what kind of parameter will influence the mangrove erosion?
Parameter to influence? erosion. So, like I've demonstrated earlier, what happened with erosion is first would be the increase of wave, the increase of current, which this is a natural process. Basically, erosion is a natural process that takes place on the coast, in which sediment being carried out to be deposited somewhere else. And mud and silt and sediment are also is being supplied by rivers. So this is where it is important. This is also an important note that upstream development or whatever activities we're having upstreams would have impacts downstream. So we may not realize that by just building dam, we can manage or we can provide electricity, for example, or ensure water supply. Yes, that's good. But then by having dams, we are actually minimizing or actually affecting the supply of water as well as all the other components, the nutrients, the silt, the sediment. So that will have effect on coastal development, and that will also contribute to erosion because there's not enough supply of sediment. So wave and current from the ocean, from that side and from the terrestrial side, these both will have impact on mud accumulation or sedimentation on the coastal area. And one thing that I've discovered or I've noticed from my recent research and some communication with our friends, like sand dredging, for example, right, on offshore sand dredging or nearshore sand dredging will actually cause further erosion on the coast, because like I told you, coastal area is a dynamic environment. So if we do sand dredging offshore, imagine this is a land and we have sand dredging over here offshore, naturally naturally it will want to stabilize itself, right? So there will be transportation of sediments from other areas to stabilize the mined area, the dredge area. So that will also promote erosion from nearby coast. And of course, like I've highlighted earlier in the lecture, sea level rise, right? If rising sea levels, higher amount of water means sea level increases, so that will also will add on to the impact of erosion. And on top of that, it's not just the issue of erosion. Other issues that come with increasing sea level would be flooding, saltwater intrusion, for example. So basically, it negatively impact all the developments on the coastal areas. So this is where we need to adapt and mitigate. So further, I mean, there are some good past development that considers nature-based solutions or ecosystem-based solution, right? So we know this area is an intertidal area, so why not build some of these minimum development using stilts, right? So if we have boardwalks building on stilts, that's way much better than clearing an area to building boardwalks on concrete, right? So we need to consider the intertidal situation of mangroves, and try to avoid heavy development, physical development that hinder these processes from happening. I hope that answers that question.
Okey, Doktor. Hadirin yang budiman, saya mewakili pelajar Marin FSPU merakamkan jutaan terima kasih kepada Dr. Aldrie Amir atas segala ilmu dan nasihat yang amat penting dan berguna sepanjang webinar kita. Halalkan segala tunjuk ajar dan ilmu pada hari ini. Akhir kalam, majlis juga mengucapkan terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang terlibat secara langsung atau tidak langsung dalam penganjuran webinar yang bertajuk Mangrove hari ini. Saya ingin memohon maaf sekiranya terdapat sebarang kesilapan sepanjang saya mengendalikan majlis kita pada hari ini. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Majlis diakhiri dengan tasbih kifarah dan surah Wal-As. Perhatian, peserta diminta untuk mengisi borang kehadiran yang berada di ruang chat. Semua peserta diminta untuk membuka kamera bagi sesi bergambar. Slide dan video webinar akan diberi dalam email semua para peserta. Minta untuk semua untuk sesi bergambar.
Dr. Aldrie,
Ya.
lepas bergambar nanti saya ada nak tanya soalan sikit ya.
Okey,
Sebab
siapa tu?
tiba Erniza daripada UiTM Perlis, sebab tiba-tiba MC terus close the session.
Itulah.
Saya terkejut sekejap sebab
Boleh.
saya ada soalan nak tanya.
Boleh stay back lah. Siapa yang nak ada soalan tambahan boleh stay back sekejap.
Okay, Doktor, thank you.
350 boleh masuk satu screen ke? Macam mana tangkap gambar?
Dia buat 5 kali, Doktor. 5 kali ambil gambar.
Oh, okey.
Siapa yang urus?
Nanti share dengan saya ya.
Siapa yang uruskan ni?
Saya.
Saya nampak familiar faces, nampak Zaid, nampak Yazid. Thank you for coming.
1, 2, 3. Satu lagi. 1, 2, 3.
Next. Okay, dah?
Okey.
Okay.
Nampak Faizal juga. Apa khabar Faizal?
Okay. Dah, Doktor.
Okey.
Thank you, Doktor.
Terima kasih sekali lagi kepada semua yang hadir. Harap bermanfaat ya. Dan terima kasih sekali lagi Dr. Fazli atas sambutan. Dan siapa tadi Dr. Erniza nak stay sekejap boleh?
Minta maaf lah Dr. Aldrie, ambil masa. Sebab tadi saya tengok banyak soalan dekat chat room. Jadi sebab tu saya tak interfere. Tapi tiba-tiba close session kan. Jadi nak tanya jugalah.
Tak apa, nanti minta sekretariat hantar ke saya yang chat punya soalan. Kok mana saya boleh respon, nanti saya respon lah.
Okey. Dr. Fazli boleh take note lah yang tu ya, Dr. Fazli ya.
Boleh, Doktor.
Dr. Aldrie, saya nak tanya lah pasal kami adalah dapat small grant untuk monitor, bukan monitor lah, pasal phytoplankton di Pulau Tuba.
Langkawi.
Langkawi, Pulau Tuba. Kita dah ada buat first run lah, naik boat dekat area Tuba Island tu, dan ada kita ambil water sample lah. So dalam proses buat laboratory eksperimen sekarang ni. Cumanya bidang saya adalah bidang GIS remote sensing. Jadi saya nak tanya doktor, sebab masa kita pergi ke mangrove area tu, actually kita try detect mangrove age. Mangrove age melalui satellite image. Dan kita cuba verify dekat ground, tapi malangnya sepanjang Tuba tu, dia sepanjang pesisir river tu, dia hanya ada yang mangrove saja. Yang matured semua dia planting dekat belakang. Jadi soalan saya di sini, adakah phytoplankton tu, sebab tadi doktor banyak cerita pasal land conversion kan, sebab human punya activities yang memberi impact kepada mangrove. Jadi saya nak tanya dari segi phytoplankton. Jadi adakah phytoplankton ni ada influence maksudnya mangrove age ni memberi influence kepada phytoplankton tu sendiri, abundance of the phytoplankton.
Mangrove age ni maksud Dr. Aniza age kedudukan age umur. Okay, I see.
Umur pokok lah, umur pokok ataupun spesies. Tapi mungkin saya rasa dekat area tu ada 2 spesies je kot. Biasanya lah dekat tropical kan.
Phytoplankton dia bergantung kepada keadaan air lah kan.
Air, okey. Yang
pada saya
jadi soalan pertama doktor. Soalan pertama tadi umur mangrove, adakah dia memberi impact kepada phytoplankton abundance lah. Jadi soalan kedua, saya ada baca lah beberapa paper pasal mangrove ni, pasal water quality doktor. Jadi water quality ni macam salinity, turbidity, and then DO. Okeylah yang mana-mana yang ada satu paper dia cakap pasal lightness lah. Maknanya bila air tu clear memang phytoplankton akan hidup lah, maksudnya gitu. Jadi dalam perspektif doktor kan, pernah tak doktor involve dalam mana-mana kajian berkaitan dengan water quality yang influence kepada kehidupan phytoplankton dan juga efek dia kepada fisheries punya economy growth. Jadi ini 2 soalan saya Dr. Aldrie. Okay, terima kasih.
Thank you Dr. Aniza. Basically kawasan mangrove kita tahu air dia akan terbit sebab dia murky water tu natural condition for mangrove. Dan disebabkan mangrove ni adalah kawasan sesuai untuk fish breeding, dan saya suspect amount and diversity of phytoplankton akan jadi tinggi juga. Tapi saya personally saya tak ada maklumat pasal phytoplankton secara detail. In fact saya baru dapat ada seorang student yang interested on phytoplankton di mangrove. Tapi saya dapat rasa diversity-nya ataupun abundance tinggi sebenarnya dalam mangrove. Based on the role and function dia sebagai breeding dengan spawning ground for fish. And then the clarity is always an issue dengan mangrove sebab dia kawasan madi and dia selalu murky. And kalau nak relatekan itu pula dengan diversity akan bertentangan lah dengan apa yang Dr. Nizal cakap, betul tak? Sebab kalau clarity contribute to higher abundance of or diversity of phytoplankton, then that cannot happen in mangrove lah, betul tak? Jadi saya rasa inilah peluang projek Dr. Niza, maknanya we have to quantify this and prove this. And then faktor umur saya tak rasa itu isu contributing factor langsung sebab dia mungkin sebab kalau kita lihat that from ecosystem atau habitat angle, then forest age mungkin tak main peranan, tapi forest size atau tree size itu je akan main peranan. And then forest age akan jadi isu sebab kita tak ada cara khusus lagi tau untuk detect umur pokok mangrove sebab kalau pokok spesies yang sama di Pulau Toba dengan spesies yang sama kalau jumpa di tanah besar, dan spesies yang sama kita jumpa dekat East Coast kata, size dia ataupun faktor fizikal dia takkan memberi gambaran umur dia. So ini risiko atau isu dia kalau kita nak correlatekan faktor phytoplankton atau water quality dengan umur pokok sebab dia tak representatif lah. Sebab 5 tahun unless kalau kita betul-betul monitor pokok tu daripada first dia tumbuh lah. Yang itu surely will be a good study. Sebab tu itu advantage kalau kita study perkara macam phytoplankton water quality dengan planted area, itu will be an advantage. Tapi kalau kita nak banding dengan natural area ada risikonya sebab 5 tahun punya Rhizophora apiculata kata dekat Matang dengan 5 tahun Rhizophora apiculata dekat Pulau Seribuat kata dia totally different sebab 5 tahun dekat Matang dah mungkin dah maybe 10 meter, Tapi dekat Seri Buat dia baru 3-4 meter, sebab maximum height dia maybe 8-10 meter saja yang adult mangrove dekat Seri Buat. Padahal dekat Matang dia boleh tumbuh sampai 40 meter. So umur pada saya agak risiko lah kalau Dr. Nizam nak buat bandingan. So tapi size make sense. So maknanya size kita compare lah, maknanya seedlings kan yang maybe 5 cm diameter lower punya area dengan adult atau intact mangrove lah. Intact mangrove mungkin dah capai 10 to or above diameter at breast height ke. Itu
maksud doktor tu yang mangrove tree tu, maksud doktor adakah dia punya physical size tu, kanopi, dia punya diameter pokok itulah.
Yes, basal area. Saya itu lagi praktikal dan logical lah. Sebab kalau umur sangat tricky. In fact kalau GIS study pun dia kena tengok, dia kena series of photo tu, dia kena daripada zero lah baru kita betul-betul sure that particular area tu 5 tahun atau 10 tahun. Sebab kalau kita intermediate, gambar tu in between 5 years kata, ini kita ada satu lagi range 5 years, so ada ralat 3 hingga 5 tahun kan in between this picture dengan this picture. Still kita tak tahu umur sebenar kan. So pada saya agak risiko lah dengan kalau kita guna umur sebagai parameters. So try to go with a physical structure. And tapi saya sukalah idea ni, nanti saya akan bagi tahu student saya untuk fikir Dr. Nizam sebab dia ada sebut pasal phytoplankton.
Sebab kami bulan 12, kami dah turun hari tu bulan 10. So kita akan turun bulan 12 sebab mengikut kata nelayan masa tu adalah full moon. Jadi masa kita turun pun air agak cetek dan sukar untuk kita pergi ke tepi. So untuk dapatkan physical mangrove tu agak sukar jugalah sebab kita duduk atas boat kan. Tapi kita quite dapat lebih kurang 25 sampel. Cuma kami taklah go for detail for the laboratory experiment. So this is actually pun my first experience. Sebab tu saya agak seronok juga bila dapat cakap dengan Dr. Aldrie kan. Sebab kami bukan dalam bidang orang sains yang directly marine. Tapi adalah member, one of the member tu dia orang marine lah. Jadi yang untuk yang apa tu untuk next ni kita akan tengok balik lah. Sebab kami memang tak boleh dapat yang mangrove age tu. Tapi kalau doktor, macam mana doktor dapatkan yang physical tree size tu, doktor turun ke dekat mangrove area tu? Macam pelik turun dia.
Tak boleh imagine je.
Oh okey, sangat susah lah nak turun.
Memang kena buat saya lagi suka buat field study lah, field survey, dan seronok sikit ada dekat field daripada duduk office. Untunglah you all dekat Perlis boleh pergi buat field trip, kita dekat sini PKPB lagi. But the point is betul Dr. Nizam, saya sedang kena involvekan seorang at least lah, seorang dua ecologist dalam team, sebab kalau tak you will not get a good data atau representative lah. Dan ini juga peluang sebenarnya, inilah peluang kenapa saya buat My Mangrove tu. Nanti Dr. Nizam join lah My Mangrove Facebook group. So mungkin kita ada ticker, so just announce je, cakap any field assistant dekat Perlis ke, nanti ada lah yang jawab siapa yang nak join tu. You just bring them lah, boleh minta bantuan untuk kerja lapangan dekat Perlis ke.
Saya baru je nak hire ranger. Hire ranger lah, bayar sikit.
Forester boleh juga. Tapi kalau dapat student-student kita kata dekat dekat UMT yang dia orang dah mahir kan, dia orang dah tahu macam mana nak measure forest structure ke. So tu yang nampak ada satu message kata ada final year project buat plankton lah. So nampak. So bila Dr. Nizam join My Mangrove, nanti you just buat start discussion, cakap okay, anyone in phytoplankton study nanti you dah create satu group kat situ. So we have 900 plus members dah so far. So adalah banyak jugalah hasilnya, macam communication dengan we create a proposal. Adalah saya kalau boleh nak we go mega lah, kalau boleh nak 900 ni to collaborate together, tapi impossible lah kan. So we create small groups on small particular topics dulu. But you get to know lah, get to know people. Jangan malu-malu. I create that platform for all of us to communicate. So ada publication baru ke, nak cari team baru ke, nak buat proposal baru ke, nak cari people from same topic ke kan. So you just announce it lah, jangan malu-malu. I risau tengok orang kita ni nak share pun malu, nak tanya pun malu dalam group kan. So use that platform.
Kita ada seorang Dr. Aldrie yang ambil yang baru graduate di PhD lah. Dia buat big data analytic untuk Mangrove ni lah.
Nice,
so
nice.
itu pun one of the chance lah untuk kita explore. Yalah macam saya cakap lah, kita tak akan, macam doktor cakap lah, kita tak akan pandai semua benda. So,
tak boleh, tak logik.
jadi
Saya
mungkin,
pun tak tahu semua benda pasal Mangrove. So a collaboration is the way to go. So thank you again. Itulah saya suka Dr. Fazli buat ni. So we get to know each other, and then we know our strengths. We must work. Sebab saya rasa sekarang pun kalau dana yang ada macam dana universiti pun dia promote kita untuk jump atau cross sector kan. So macam ni lah, at least you now you know ada mangrove ecologists, ada people working on the same same habitat or same ecosystem tapi different aspect. But try to incorporate lah, of course lah, jangan ada free rider, janganlah ambil ni nak nama je, tak boleh macam tu, tapi you try to get someone who can commit lah. So boleh lah, you can communicate with
saya boleh promote lah kat sini siapa yang nak join saya untuk dapatkan mangrove physical kan, sebab kami memang tak ada expert dalam tu. So mungkin kami akan turun hujung bulan 12 lah Tuba. Biasanya kami duduk 2 hari di sana.
Lama juga.
So dua kali trip lah. 2 kali trip lah kita pergi ke Tuba tu.
Ramai kawan-kawan dekat Langkawi semua dah tanya bila nak pergi. Saya Dr. Jamil Tajam UiTM dikenalkan. Okay, so
dia memang selalu ke Tuba lah, memang tempat dia lah tu.
Dia betul. So yalah, tapi dia pun macam-macam lah kerja dia nak buat kan. Tapi dia mesti kenal lah kawan-kawan dekat di Pulau Tubuh yang boleh bantu. Tapi local community boleh bantu, tapi kadang kalau kita dah ada graduate student ke yang dah biasa buat pun membantu jugalah mencepatkan ataupun to ensure method pengiraan forest structure tu betul kan. Kadang-kadang that is important also, sebab kadang-kadang saya baca jurnal, kadang review artikel pun tengok betul ke, logik ke